Perhaps Jane was right about the bakery, like she was about everything else, I thought to myself, lingering at the door of the bakery as the warm light gently pulled on the snowy path. I do not know how or why she would be, but in life, one never really knows how some things come about. The late evening began to sink its way into the bakery, the same way it did yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. It was deeply troubling. The season was merry and bright, yet no one seemed to want to purchase handmade pastries, scones, danishes, breads, or pies to bless the table. I reluctantly flipped the sign from open to closed and packed up the utensils. The mesh sieve, the mountain of bowls, the spoons and spatulas, and finally, Mother's scales. Back they all went into the store cupboard, safely cocooned in the dark. I sighed heavily as I stepped out into the night, the sound of carolers in the market square echoing amidst the rustling snowfall. With a crate of baked goods that no one wanted, I walked down the path towards home, head hanging solemnly. As I turned the corner, the angelic voices of the carolers rang clear and gay. For a moment, I was able to forget the bakery and my promise to Mum. It was like having a great coat being taken off your shoulders by a kindly footman, allowing you to join the glorious party for the rest of the evening. But I walked on and shrugged the great coat back over my shoulders. The falling snow then turned into a flurry, sending my hair in all directions. I put the crate down to fix my hair, and just as quickly as it came, it subsided. Then I noticed something. On the other side of the street, underneath the warm light of the lamppost, was a man. At first, all I saw was a black mass, but as the snow calmed down, I began to make out a face, kind and jovial, if not a little haggard. But, oh dear, he was coming towards me. I quickly picked up my crate and started walking when he called out. "Excuse me, miss, you wouldn't happen to know where the Barnaby Hotel is, would you?" he asked. As a matter of fact, I did know where that was and gave the man directions while absent-mindedly staring at the snow around my feet. But then, he said that is exactly how he got lost, by asking for directions and then muddling them up. So I offered to walk him there myself. As we made our way to the hotel, the snow silently drifting down, the man told me a bit about himself. David was a journalist sent to cover the Christmas festivities in the neighbouring towns. Of course, I told him about the carolers in the market square, and he gleefully jotted down notes in a pocketbook. "And what about you? What do you enjoy the most this merry season?" he said with an endearing and genuine tone. I stopped abruptly. Wow, we had reached the front steps of the hotel after all. I thought that if I remained silent, David would be on his way. But of course, he dealt with all kinds of folk in his line of work, so he remained where he was, waiting patiently for my answer. The thing is, I normally look forward to selling the Christmas baked goods, but I faltered. "Go on," David gently whispered. "It's all right." I told him about the lack of customers and Mother's scales, and how I promised to keep bringing light to people's day with our baked goods. He nodded with a reassuring smile and thanked me for walking him to the hotel. Just as he reached the top steps, I rushed up and reached into the crate. "Here, have this," I said, handing him a bag of gingerbread biscuits. A wide grin spread across his face, and he thanked me again for the walk and the biscuits. He opened the bag and popped one into his mouth. "Did you make these?" he asked, his eyes wide with wonder and delight. There it was, that light that I dearly loved to ignite in others. "Don't mention it," I replied, looking down once more at the powdery snow. And then we parted, the inviting light of the hotel gently falling onto the steps, gradually forming a sliver before disappearing. The next morning, I met up with Jane for a coffee, and I told her all about my encounter with David. She nodded reverently and poked her finger at me, sagely saying, "Your bakery, it's going to work out. I knew your mother's scales were lucky." Of course, I had to laugh at this, but I admit that I rather agreed with her. Perhaps Jane was right, and the bakery would be fine. That thought cast a light on everything I saw the rest day, and the next day after that.